The member countries are at the top. Military's over here. They have their committees, Allied Command Transformation. Then over here, the delegations. There is a nuclear planning group, which might be a little busier these days than they have been in the past. Then the council, Secretary General, is at the bottom of this chart because, as I said, his role is to facilitate consensus. Is he enormously powerful? Yeah. Does he facilitate and help run and manage the organization? Absolutely. But his most important role is in managing the 28 stray cats that make up NATO and trying to corral them into the same room to get a decision done. So the core tasks here: collective defense, crisis management, cooperative security. Collective defense, quite simply, an attack on one is an attack on all. We need to defend everyone in the alliance. Crisis management is when diplomacy fails, and we need to, unfortunately, go into a country or wherever and get a little more aggressive. Cooperative security would be something like monitoring the Mediterranean, or anti-piracy operations. We might be working with the NATO, not me. I'd love, if anybody from NATO is listening, I'd love a job at NATO. I think it'd be great to work there. It's like anti-piracy. We might be working with national authorities, maybe to train. NATO might be working with national authorities, not we.
You're the guy who made the thing, right?
Yes, I am Major something or the other. But those national authorities might be taking some training from, say, the U.S. Navy on how to combat piracy, something like that. Collective security. Now, the thing to think about, and Colonel Corporal set me straight here if I am awry. The United States really is the integral member of NATO, because while this is starting to change a little bit, the United States is the only country still with a serious ability to project force around the world. So in the invasion, the attack on Iraq, for example, our carriers, our troop ships were carrying weaponry and personnel from NATO alliance members because they didn't have the capacity to do it like we do. Is that mostly correct?
Yes. And you're right on 2 points. The first one is that membership to NATO requires that each member country contribute a certain amount of their gross domestic product to their military.
Yes.
The United States is the only member that actually does that, and has been since basically the beginning of the alliance. That's one of the reasons. Say again?
It's like 2%, I think.
No, I think it's more than that, but it's a percentage. But we're the only ones that do it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why former President Trump was basically pissed off at NATO, because he felt they weren't paying their dues, and we were paying their dues. And that has been the default. The United States has always done what we were supposed to do and gone beyond what we were supposed to do as members of NATO. The second thing is that 28 countries are members of NATO. And it's a cultural thing, but U.S. officers involved in NATO planning get extremely frustrated because the term is herding cats. I personally experienced that. I went to Naples and was part of a planning session with NATO. We had a meeting. The Italian officers showed up 20 minutes late. Left 10 minutes later, smoked, didn't come back. So it's a cultural thing. We want to get things done. We want to get our plans done, and other countries don't have the same concept of mission accomplishment that we do. So there's a lot of frustration on our part.
Now, force projection.
Yes, we are the only ones that can project serious forces anywhere on the planet.
Yeah. And again, I turn to the colonel because I've never served, and he would know a lot more about it than I would. Yes, Kaylee.
It's time to move on.
Okay, it's time to move on. Thank you. You know, that was a lot nicer than what I said having you scream at me.
I don't wanna do that.
Yeah. All right, so we will go into Legacy of Ashes, which is now available. I'm going to cut this part of the video here and just pick up with Legacy of Ashes.